Folks, we got a red dot. Welcome back to Akron's hottest and fastest growing show, 3 Throw to Go. I'm your host, Hank, and I'm coming to you live. We're in downtown Akron. This is Sergeant Murphy, everybody. Hi. Hey, hi. All right, so I just asked him a good question to get started before we head out on patrol. And so I'm looking at the screen right now, and we're getting ready to take a look at some of these patrols that are taking place. And the question I asked is, the question I asked to start the night out with him is, how does it work in terms of assigning patrol units to a given area? In other words, there's lots of times where sometimes at night you'll see like 5 cruisers responding to a call versus like 10. And are there assigned units and are there random patrols available? So how does this? So break down Akron districting for us, Sergeant, and say hi to everybody.
Hey, I'm Sergeant Mike Murphy, live with 330 to go. We're in the car tonight, gonna pop around some calls and see what's going on in the city, show you guys exactly what our officers are doing every single day, the hard work that they're putting in to protect you guys and to give you the service that you require. In the city of Akron, there are 4 sectors, and within each sector, there are 3 districts. So there's a total of 12 districts within the city of Akron. Our shifts overlap, so at any given time, there's usually 2 cars, patrol cars in one district, which gives us a total of 24 more cars within the city, in addition to our paddy wagons, our sergeant's cars, K9 cars, and other units. But when we're talking just in terms of patrol, 12 districts. So at any given time, depending upon the call, the nature of the call, the availability of the officers, whether or not they're tied up on calls or if they're in close proximity to a call that went out, officers may respond to a call to back up their partner or their sister car or neighboring district car in order to give them that support.
Okay, so then, like, let's say a big event happens, like let's say it's an evening fire or where there needs to be a lot of control over a given area, like a city block radius or something along those lines, right? Or and sometimes when there's a shooting, there's big, people always say, we call it heavy police response, okay? So when that happens, how does that work? So you only have a certain amount that you can assign because the rest still have to stay out on patrol, right?
Correct.
And then as far as like, once a call's over, everybody just kind of goes back to what they're doing? Like, how's that work? And I've noticed before, like, different lengths of time that people stay on that call. In other words, are they securing the area or are they investigating? Like, what's happening when that's going on?
Yeah, well, to answer the first question, most oftentimes here in the city of Akron, our officers at night specifically are call to call to call. So they may go to one call, you could see several officers or several cars assisting on a particular call, or in some sort of a critical incident, there's going to be a lot more of a cruiser response. So when those officers are tied up on that call, their dispatch, the radio room and dispatch puts them on that call, and their sergeants and their supervisors are aware of where they're at. When they clear the call or they're no longer needed on that call, they go back into service. When they're going back into service, that means that they're available to take another call. So another 911 call comes in their area, the dispatcher sends them that call, and then they go from there. But in between calls, when the officers, if they're not in the act of receiving a call, then that's when you see us doing the patrols or going by local convenience stores and doing those types of things, some of the more police interaction with the community. We're trying to do those types of things in some of what you would call our downtime.
So we've heard the term wellness check, okay? Mm-hmm. Do those predominantly happen during the day?
Wellness checks, or check the welfare, as we call it, that could happen at any time of day. We get those calls all the time. I mean, really, realistically, anytime someone calls the police, they're going to get a response.
Okay.
It's just a matter of how many cruisers, what the nature of the call is, and what cars are available to respond at that particular time.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. Well, folks, that's just a little taste, a little intro for you. And now we're going to go be a part of those patrols, all right? So we're heading out. We're going to be out and about for the next few hours, and I'll share whatever information I am allowed to share publicly, all right? Because one of the things we need to take into account is that obviously police are doing their job, but their job is involving themselves into someone else's life, that something is happening, right? Whether that be a domestic situation, whether it be a car accident, whether it be some sort of a medical emergency or maybe a crime, right? So in other words, there's a lot of sensitive information that happens, and that's why we got to be very careful in terms of what we film live and share with the public, all right? So we'll be very cognizant of that. But yeah, we'll be out and about, and we'll see you guys in a bit. Take care. All right, folks, we're live again. You got your light? They can't see you. There he is. All right, we're live again. We just went on our, well, first of all, as soon as we left, we saw not one, two motorcycles speeding by, one just doing their thing, just literally just weaving in and out of traffic and going in between cars and splitting cars, like driving right by the cruiser twice. Two different motorcycles. Okay, so that was how the evening started as we pull away from Akron, heading out, and we went in toward the Kenmore area. We saw two pretty substantial sized German Shepherd Husky looking dogs just kind of walking on down the boulevard together, just hanging out. So then we made it over to our first, what would be considered an unruly domestic situation. Okay, so we're over here in generically, was this East Akron? East Akron-ish. Okay, and how do I say this? Again, we're gonna try and cover this stuff without giving details that are confidential. All right, but we walk into this house. It had to be 90.
It was definitely 90.
It had to be 90 degrees. It had to be at least 90 degrees. The windows were all shut, curtains were all closed, and they were cooking. So it was hot. Okay, and the three officers that were in there, all right, you could just see the two of them had already been in there for a little bit. When Sergeant Murphy walked in, you could just see the sweat is just dripping down their faces while they're talking to these two people. And basically, you got an older gentleman and an older dad and a son, and they're getting into it. And as far as the dad is fed up with whatever their life situation is, and he wants the son to move out. So it's an eviction situation where he's asking his son to find his own place. And I kid you not, it looked like a Columbia House clearance rack along with a Blockbuster all in one. There were probably 300 movies out on the one table and about, I don't know, probably 200 or 300 CDs. All right, because you know me, I pick up. I'm observing like everything going on because this is all new to me. And but yeah, it was a situation where you could tell that just family stuff coming to a head, right? And someone finally called the cops, right? And the officers themselves spent the better part of the whole time just talking to the people and giving them some advice and counsel in regards to the process of eviction and the way that things need to go in terms of the legal stuff that's involved with all that. Did I do that right?
Yeah, no, that's 100% correct. We wear a lot of hats. Each call demands different things. Sometimes the officers are giving pseudo-legal advice, like you said in that particular call. The caller was asking about how to go about evicting his son, and we have things like that. Sometimes we play the role of a counselor, and people just want to vent and talk to you. So it really just depends. But we do a lot of different things like that, and 90% of what we do is talking to people and communicating.
And that really was it. I mean, when we got there, they were in two different rooms having two different separate conversations, obviously telling their sides of the story, right? But at the same time, things were calm, and the officers, I would say, worked to de-escalate the situation, and now they're off to their next call. And to give you guys an idea, they've already had over 150 calls today. They've already had over 150 calls today.
That was for one shift.
That was for one shift. So now we're on the second shift already.
This is actually the fourth shift of the day.
This is the fourth shift. There you go. I mean, so in other words, they just got done there. They get in the car. They see the little call screen right here, and we're looking at that just shows where everybody's at, right? And these are all calls. Those are all active calls.
Yeah, those are all active calls, and then there are some calls that are waiting here. So
okay, all right. So that's it from call number one, and we're gonna log off now, and we'll see you guys back in a bit. All right, we're out here. We're back live again. We got another call that we just finished up. This one was a disoriented and injured man wandering down the middle of Market Street. Like, There goes the ambulance right now. The ambulance is pulling away. Just wandering down the middle of Market Street. Somebody called. He was bleeding. You can see I'm going to try and keep the description as kosher as possible here. He's bleeding down in his arm. He suffered what I would refer to as severe eye trauma. He had been in an altercation with somebody over street stuff. We'll call it that. And some guy hit him in the head. Oh, look at this. As we're talking right now, some person's walking across diagonally with a shopping cart down the middle of Market. How did I say it the right way? Street altercation, and he got hit with a bottle, and dude's eye is just severe trauma. Severe trauma. He was bleeding all over. All right, you got anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, man, this is just another thing, unfortunate incident, but this is the stuff that happens every day that people just don't know about, hear about. Doesn't oftentimes make the news because, the victim's going to be transported to the hospital, most likely be okay. Maybe he has some long-term effects from the injuries, but these are things that the officers are handling every single day, multiple times a day, seeing the type of trauma that's caused to people and people being victimized. This is another day in Akron.
Well, and again, we always say it's not just Akron, it's everywhere, but we just get an opportunity to see your guys' call volume. And I mean, right now, we've only been out here 2 hours. We've already seen 5 or 6 things that are noteworthy, and stuff that you guys got to deal with. All right. So that's it from this call, folks. I did want to point out that while we went to this call, there were 2 calls that came in that involved teens and harassment online. We saw those calls come in. One was, I think both of them were on Snapchat. Okay? So, point is, while all this stuff is being dealt with in person, there's also these other calls that are coming in where the folks have to go to the houses and do reports and then do like the investigative part, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So, that's all. So, yeah, you could be on a call and the call doesn't end with the call. Now you got to go and do the other stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where the officers are going call to call, and because there's so many calls, there's so many calls waiting in the city. Oftentimes, number one, you may have to wait longer if you're calling for a report because things like that happen where people are getting assaulted and they need police assistance and need to go to the hospital. So then as these calls stack, the officers have to handle them based upon the priority, and then sometimes then you don't even get to handle the call fully or complete the report because you're on to the next call. So the officers are out here busting their butts and handling as many calls as they possibly can, leaving one call to go to the next without completing the reports, and then just stacking that work up towards the end of the night so that they can be able to respond to calls for service, and when you guys call 911 that they're available.
So then what happens at the end of the night? Do they have to finish all that paperwork?
They've got a lot of paperwork to do.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
And they often, a lot of times they do it in their downtime or spare time. Sometimes you'll see an officer pulled off in a parking lot or the side of the road. They're not playing on their phone or taking a nap. Most of the time they're doing a report in between those calls. So it's just some misconceptions that it's really, especially like I said on these night shifts, and really even in the afternoon, it's go. We're constantly handling calls and going from one call to the next, and then you just try to get the work, the reports, and that type of documentation done in between those calls.
Look at this thing. Look at a slingshot. All right, folks, that's it for now. On to wherever our next call takes us. We'll see you in a bit. Is it bad?
Copy, all cars stand by for 5 traffic.
Something wrong?
Yeah, it looks like he's running back to the north.
All right, folks. We're live again, and we got a doozy. So, mind you, this is a Wednesday night in Akron, Ohio. Just a Wednesday night in Akron. We are on scene. There are There's a lot to tell you. All right, so there was a traffic incident where a vehicle was speeding through a neighborhood, ran through some stop signs. You know, police saw it, whatever. Went after the car, and then they pulled into a parking lot and kind of got trapped. And then they questioned him. Right? He's yelling. What's going on?
It's some stuff on the other side of town.
He sounds out of breath. He's running. So right now something else is going on the radio, but right now let's talk about this, okay? So on our way over here, around the corner, we found a gun. They found a gun just sitting in the road. Like, they think it's a Glock. It was loaded with hollow point rounds. There was a loaded gun laying in the middle of the street. And so the officers went up to it. He picked it up. And he hit the eject port to get the bullet out, and he unloaded the clip. Is that what we call it? Magazine?
Magazine.
Okay. So, again, slang terms. And then, so the gun was taken into possession, okay? We don't know if that gun is related to this situation, okay? So we pull over here. There's several cruisers and officers over here. And they're with a vehicle, and they're inspecting the vehicle, and then all of a sudden the one officer goes da-da-da, and the next thing you know, they're cuffing these guys. What, 3 or 4?
I think it was 4 occupants.
4 occupants in the vehicle, all under arrest. And if I were to professionally try and say this without giving away information, they were just kids. They look like, if I had to guess, I'd say they were probably older teens, is what my description would be. And they were placed under arrest, and then Officer Murphy calls me over to the car, and I look in the vehicle, and there's bags of cash, and there is a bag of methamphetamine this big, the size of my hand here, like half a football size, okay? And they're all looking at each other like, are we all looking at the same thing? It was something out of a movie. It was like something I've seen out of a movie, okay? They pulled this out, and then they go, and then the process is now they got to weigh it, and they got to test it. So they weighed the bag, and it was 237 grams. So 237 grams of meth in a vacuum-sealed bag. And they tested it. They do a street test. So an officer pulled me over, and I got to see him do that. They take a little portion of it. They put it into a plastic bag. They put in some chemicals with it. They shake it, and it confirms which drug it is. And then they weigh it and label it. Okay. Yeah, here we are, random Wednesday in Akron, and we just, what would you call this? Is this a drug bust? It's not. This is
really just a traffic stop.
This was a traffic stop that turned into, do I want to use the word major? Major drugs? That's a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
Significant. We'll use the word significant. Significant amount of drugs have been taken off the street based on a blown traffic stop. And I got to see the whole thing play out here. And so are half the neighbors. Half the neighbors are outside right now in this neighborhood. So, yeah, there you go. Wednesday night at 11, what is it?
It happened probably a half hour ago.
So about 11:30.
12 o'clock now.
It's 12 o'clock now. I really don't think we're going to see anything that's going to top that tonight. At least I hope we won't, and I hope APD doesn't. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to call my little shift over for the evening. But yeah, this was just a smidgen. We've been together for 3 hours. And in that 3 hours, if you just go scroll the feed, you'll see the other live videos that I shared, along with the list in the original post of all the calls that just we took a look at, not to mention the full screen of calls that officers are out doing all over town right now. What else you got?
Yeah, no, it really can happen on any day. It doesn't necessarily have to be a weekend or a busy day, a holiday, or anything like that. I mean, things like this happen every day in our city. It's just the nature of the beast what we're currently dealing with.
Someone asked in the questions, what would that amount of drugs be worth? Any kind of concept?
thousands. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars. It's a large bulk amount, felony F1 level amount of narcotics. So
yeah, I'm a little shook. You could say I'm a little shook. You know, we basically just saw 4 kids just throw away their immediate future, and APD got a bunch of drugs off the street and one more gun off the street. So I fully did not expect to see anything like that tonight. Not at all. And then here it is just randomly happening. All right. That's what we got. So I'm going to sign off again. We're probably going to call it, unless something cataclysmic happens, we're probably going to call it a night, at least for me. He's got his work to do. Because now, so because you're a part of this, do you actually have to do paperwork on these?
No, I'm really just here with you.
Okay.
Doing this, so they're actually going to take care of all the paperwork.
Okay. All right. So everybody say goodnight to Officer Murphy and to myself. Take care, folks. Have a good night, everybody. Everybody stay safe out there. And
real quick, can I add?
Yeah, go ahead.
Our application, we're currently hiring for Akron police officers. Our application closes on Friday at 11:59 p.m. So if you or you know anyone that you think would be a good fit for our agency, we're trying to build our team, consistently bring in people that are from the community and people who have a heart to serve, a desire to serve and protect people. Have them go to joinakronpolice.com, apply today. We're accepting applications between the ages of 20 and a half and 45 years old. So joinakronpolice.com. You can apply to become an Akron police officer today.
And I'll tell you, I got to meet a lot of officers today, a lot of officers tonight, and especially when you're out with them in this kind of situation, it's just a different vibe in terms of how you talk, how you behave, right? So there's not a lot of smiling, not a lot of joking, not a lot of laughing. It's a very serious business out here. And at the same time, I got to see their personalities when we were at roll call and we were making jokes about let's have a quiet night and stuff, right? So, yeah, they're just people doing their job, and I was definitely got my eyes open quite a bit tonight. So, again, those applications are open. When we get a chance tomorrow morning, in all the links, we'll share the APD application link, and that way if you're wanting to be a part of the change, then you can do that, all right? That's all I got, folks. Take care, folks. Everybody have a safe, quiet night, and say goodnight, Shirley.